that I've been showing you a bit of is how to get in the JFrame and actually move the things around. So after you make the class, first thing you do is extends JPanel. This gives us access to the JPanel class, part of the AWT class that Java has built for us. In a second, I'll import that. So again, you make public static void main string args. So you start here, and you make the main class, which is what we do every time, and you're going to do it here too. I'm having trouble just importing this. It just will not let me import it. There we go. So it's part of the swing class, not the AWT class. Swing class gives us some access to draw things on the screen. So the first thing we do is we do JFrame equals frame equals new JFrame. So I like to think of this as a picture frame. So you're going to allow a picture to be drawn on the screen, and that's where the graphical user interface, the GUI, is going to go. And then once we have that, now we have a frame, and again, this is part of the swing class that Java allows us to use. We actually need to make what we're going to put inside the frame. And the way we do that is, okay, it's moving example is the name of the class we're in. I usually call this board for this one, and so I'll call this me, and that'll be the name of the object, and then you do new moving example. So once you put this example in, now we need to stick that inside the frame. So you say frame.add me. So you're adding the instance of this class into the frame, so they'll be visible. Now that's when the paint method that's going to go below will be set up. So now you do frame.setSize. What's the size? What dimensions do you want this screen to be? And there's different ways of doing this, but this is, I think, the most intuitive. 400 pixels by 400 pixels. Then you do frame.set close, set default close operation, JFrame.exit on close. This allows you to close your program out. And then what do we have? We have frame.set visible. You want to set it visible to true. You want to make sure that you could actually see it on the screen. And now some future thing. I'm gonna finish this main method up for future things for you to see. This is going to make more sense on the things I type below. So the first thing is we're going to make a while loop that never ends. That's why it's while loop true. So the first thing we want to do is repaint. Frame.repaint. We want to keep repainting this. We want to repaint it. And then the other thing we're going to want to do is we're going to do thread.sleep. We want to put the computer to sleep, the CPU to sleep for a few milliseconds, 100 milliseconds. You're not going to notice this, but if you don't put this in, then all of a sudden, actually, your computer usually goes too quick for you to see something move. So the thread.sleep, just hover over it here, and what you do is you want to throw a declaration. You want to throw, and then right up here for you, throws interrupted exception. And the reason it does that is if something happens with the CPU and the CPU is needed somewhere else, it's not going to totally kill your program. So now, what you do after this is the last method is going to be move it. Okay, so inside the move it method, it's going to put it right there. Then you have public static paint, and then graphics J. Graphics J. And then right there you're going to make a okay. So then public static void. Is it void? Try to think of the name. I'm just going to double check. You can see me look back for a second into a different program. Public void, that's it. There's no static. Sorry. Had to think about that one for a second. And then here, graphics 2D, G2, G2 equals graphics G. So updating it a little. And this is where you're going to be allowed to draw. You're going to be allowed to draw some of the... This is going to be where the graphics... Where you're going to be allowed to draw the graphics. Cast... So we're going to take it from a G to G2, and that's going to allow us to draw it. So the first thing you always do is you set the color. So set the color allows you to set the color of the background. This is always my first line, color dot, and then red. So this will set the background, and how do you undo it? You do G2.fill, and then you actually have some options, and usually clips you can see them here, an oval, a rectangle, whatever you want. So, but since I'm doing the background, it's the rectangle. And what you do is you do 0 by 0 by 400 by 380. The width, it's always 20 less than you actually made the screen. And then color here, import that. Okay, so the import's just not working for a second. It'll work in a second. The other thing I want to do is real quickly is set a color on the screen. Color.blue. I'm going to actually put a little circle on the screen so that this will be what moves. So G2.fill oval. So oval and then X position, just put in the middle screen 200 by 200 and then give it a width, something that's visible, 20 by 20. So 20 by 20. Now import the color there, and then, so that imports the color that job is built first. And the last thing I want to do is put public void, move it. So this is going to be the method that's actually going to move the little circle around on the screen. Now right now, public void static, public static void, right there. So now I'm just trying to get rid of this error message, and it's lowercase m, not capital M. There we go. So now if you run it, you should see nicely on the screen, barring any mistakes, there's a red background with a blue dot in the middle. Now if we want to move it, the moving part, painting's done. Because it has paint and repaint, I could close that. The main method is completely done. I'm going to collapse that. So what you want to do to make it move, you do int x position, so that's the x position of the oval, and I'm going to do something, int math.random times, let's multiply it by 200, so it's a number between 0 and 200, plus 100, so it's not too far to the left of the screen. I want to start middle. And then int y position equals int math.random, same thing. And then hopefully, once I change one line of code after this, the ball will show up somewhere randomly on the screen. So right here is public void paint. Switch the 200 here to x position. And switch the y here to, the 200 to y position. Now, these are variables and things can move. So if you run it, it's going to show up randomly on the screen somewhere. Now, hopefully if I do this again, it'll be somewhere different. Yeah, a little bit different there. So it shows up in a different position. Then if I want to get it to move, what I'm going to do here, and this is the last piece I'm going to do, is you make a double variable. So let's call this temp equals math.random. Okay, so this is going to be a random number. That's a decimal between 0 and 0.9 repeating, an irrational number. If temp is less than 0.5, I want it to move to the left. So I'll say x position equals x position minus, let's say 10, so 10 pixels at a time. And then else, I'll say y position equals y position plus 10, so go to the right 10 pixels. And now I think I'm going to have to change this to static up here because there's no object making reference to it. And now if I run this program, because there's a while loop that keeps looping and because it keeps going to repaint and it always goes to this move method, it's always going to take the position and move it 10. So I don't know where it's going to start, and then it's going to start moving. And I haven't put any boundaries in. Oh, I put y position, so it moves down actually. So if I switch that real quick, I just wanted to move it left and right for this example. So here's the x position, moves left and right. Okay, so if you have any questions, make sure you email me or contact me and I'll help you a bit more with this. Obviously, I didn't put any boundaries in, so the ball went off the screen. Okay, I'm going to stop recording now. Have a good day.